I would say studying German and actually having studied abroad impacts your worldview so much because you realize that there's this whole other group of people with, very different opinions and a very different culture out there. And I think that you can really expand that into pretty much, the entire world, really. And I think, especially since I studied abroad, it makes you realize that traveling is a lot more available to you than maybe you initially thought it would be. I wanted to study abroad because, living in another place for an extended period of time like that is something most people will never really have the opportunity to do again outside of, college setting, really. And you don't have the stress of having to work. You really can experience the culture for what it is. And I know I traveled every weekend, went somewhere new in Europe, and it was amazing. And you can really take it in without the pressures you might have of, going on a vacation and only, being in a place for a week or two isn't the same as living somewhere for 6 months and really getting a feel for a place. I studied abroad in Freiburg, Germany. It's in southwestern Germany. It was honestly different than what I was expecting because, as I said earlier, I have been to other parts of Germany, but the people were very politically liberal, but socially more conservative, which, I wasn't so much expecting. But you definitely had more of a routine there, I feel like. I would wake up every morning and go to the local bakery where they would always have fresh baked bread, and I'd grab a coffee and go to class. And, the class schedule there is a lot more lenient. You have maybe 1 or 2 classes a day for, an hour or two. And after that, you could pretty much do whatever you want with your time. So we would go hiking. I was in the Black Forest, so we would go hiking. We would go on day trips to villages and cities around, and it was really nice. So especially in Germany, the system works a little different. And I didn't do a Trinity program. I did a program through the state of Connecticut, and I was taking foreign language classes with the actual university, as opposed to having a university set up, in a broad program that's mostly English. All of my classes were taught in German, essentially like the type of class that a German-speaking student would be taking. So it was very intensive. And I took 4 different classes, and my 5th class, which I just ended up really sitting in on, was a psychology class through the university. So you kind of have a lot of, or essentially, the type of program I did, you have a lot of freedom to kind of really invest in the language. And I would really recommend the program I did for people who are comfortable being very self-directed in what they want to do and kind of have a concept of what they want to study, because nobody is going to really direct you when you're there. I was very much on my own a lot of the time, but I really liked the freedom I had. I lived in a student dorm, actually, and most of the people in my dorm were actually students studying at the university, German-speaking students, and I think that was the nice thing about my program, is that the international students and the German-speaking students were kind of interspersed throughout, and that was actually a really good way to get to know the students at the university.